When someone says ashes, the image that probably comes to mind is a handful of soft gray dust, like what remains after burning firewood in a fireplace. It sounds reasonable. It feels familiar. And it's almost entirely wrong. What is returned to a family after cremation is not ash in the ordinary sense. It is not partially burned carbon. It is not charcoal powder. If you were to examine it under a microscope, you would see mineral structure, not blackened fragments. So, what are we actually holding in our hands? And why does a 70-kilogram body, roughly the weight of a large bag of cement, become only about 2 kilograms of material? The answer lies in physics, chemistry, and a machine most people have never heard of. An adult human body is about 60% water. That means if you weigh 70 kilograms, approximately 42 kilograms of that is water, the equivalent of more than 41-liter bottles, inside a cremation chamber operating near one. Home sake. That water does not burn. It vaporizes almost instantly. The remaining soft tissues, muscle, fat, internal organs are primarily made of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. At high temperatures, carbon reacts with oxygen to form carbon dioxide. Hydrogen combines with oxygen to form water vapor. Complex organic compounds break down into simpler molecules and exit as gases. What does not disappear is bone. Bone is not wood. It contains a high concentration of minerals, especially calcium phosphate. This mineral does not burn at cremation temperatures. Instead, it is heated intensely, loses its organic components, and becomes brittle and white-gray in color. After roughly 2 hours, what remains inside the chamber are dry bone fragments, not powder. Picture small pieces of seashell that have been heated. There is no thick black smoke, no clouds of cinematic ash drifting through the air. And this is where the story turns to a technical detail that rarely gets discussed. The bone fragments left after cremation are not fine enough to be placed into an urn. They can measure several centimeters in size, sometimes larger. To achieve the familiar fine texture, they are placed into a device called a cremulator. Despite its name, this machine does not involve fire. It is a mechanical grinder. It operates much like an industrial milling device, using rotational force and impact to break the bone fragments into uniform granules. There is no flame at this stage, only mechanics. If you have ever seen a coffee grinder, imagine a version that is larger and significantly more powerful. The process takes only a few minutes. When it is complete, fine mineral particles, white to light gray in color, are ready to be placed into a container. So ashes are actually processed bone minerals, not charcoal, not burned dust. They are calcium and phosphate, the very elements that once allowed you to stand upright, walk, and lift objects. An adult body typically leaves behind between 1.3 and 3 kilograms of solid material, depending on height, bone density, and biological factors. 3 kilograms weighs about as much as a large bottle of fish sauce. 3 kilograms is roughly the weight of 2 construction bricks. It is small compared to the original body mass, but it has not vanished. So where did the rest go? This is where we widen the frame beyond the cremation chamber. When soft tissue oxidizes, carbon molecules leave the body's structure and become carbon dioxide. That gas passes through an emissions treatment system before entering the atmosphere. Hydrogen becomes water vapor. Nitrogen forms other gaseous compounds. It may sound abstract, but think of it simply. Your body was built from food, from plants that absorbed carbon dioxide through photosynthesis. The carbon within you once existed in the air. During cremation, it returns to that gaseous state more quickly than it would through natural decomposition. Instead of taking decades in soil, the transformation happens in a matter of hours. There is no erasure of matter, only a change of state, from solid to gas, from complex biological structures to simpler molecules. And that realization leads to an important understanding. When holding an urn of ashes, You are not holding the entirety of that person. You are holding the mineral portion of the skeleton, the final physical framework, remaining after the organic components have rejoined natural. 2 cycles. This fact does not diminish emotional meaning. It simply changes how we understand the process. Many people assume ashes are dark remnants of incomplete burning, but in cremation, high temperatures and controlled oxygen ensure that soft tissues are almost fully oxidized. There is no leftover charcoal, no partially burned fragments. The cremation chamber is engineered for cleanliness and control. Stable temperatures ensure thorough transformation. Filtration systems reduce emissions. The cremulator creates uniform consistency so families may store the remains or scatter them at sea or on land. When we strip away cinematic imagery, what remains is a clear sequence of mechanical and chemical processes. Not mysterious, not mystical, just physics operating at high temperature. You may never have thought deeply about the phrase ashes. But once you understand that it is finely processed bone mineral, your perspective shifts, less vague, less mythic, perhaps more grounded in reality. And if this insight makes you curious, perhaps next time we can examine another familiar concept and turn it over to see what mechanical story lies beneath it. Sometimes, what feels obvious is quietly hiding an entire system of science inside.